Japamala. During japa, please chant. Oh yeah, keep one phone for you people to read because they can't hear you. Log in through Zoom. This or the other phone. Try this one. Log in. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Let us chant one round of japa with Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं मुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय श्रीमद् भगवद गीता एज इट इज की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome to today's Srimad Bhagavatam for All session. Let us recite Bhagavad Gita Shloka. We are reciting from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 14, text 18. Aditi Lata Mataji and Arunita, you can start.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha madhye tishtanti rajasa jaganya guna vrittista adho gachanti tamasa. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. Thank you. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Udvam gacchati sattvatstha madhye tishtanti rajasaha
Jaganya
jaganya gunavrittista madho gacchati tamasaha. Translation.
Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planet, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds.
Hare Krishna. Inba Inya, Jai Shri Mataji, Jai Ganesh Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Urdhvam gachanti satvastha, madhye tistanti rajasa, jaganya guna vrittista, adho gachanti tamasa. Translation: those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds.
Inya.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
ऊर्ध्वं गच्छन्ति सत्त्वस्ता मध्ये तिष्ठन्ति राजसाः जघन्यगुणवृत्तिस्था अधो गच्छन्ति तामसाः. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds.
Yeah. Mataji Prabhuji are there?
No, Mataji.
Isha?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Urdhvam gachanti satvastha. And those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds.
Krishna Shish.
ऊर्ध्वं गच्छन्ति सत्त्वस्था मध्ये तिष्ठन्ति राजसा जघन्यगुणवृत्तिस्था अधो गच्छन्ति तामसा. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of
Madhava.
Madhya Tistanti Raja.
Abominable.
And go down to the hellish worlds.
Rasapriya.
ऊर्ध्वं गच्छन्ति सत्त्वस्था मध्ये तिष्ठन्ति go down to the hellish worlds.
Priyanka Haripriya Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances, Mataji. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
ऊर्ध्वं गच्छन्ति सत्त्वस्था मध्ये तिष्ठन्ति राजसः जगन्यगुणवृत्तिस्था अधो गच्छन्ति तामसः. Those situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upward to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds.
I'll recite also. Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 14, text 18. ऊर्ध्वं गच्छन्ति सत्त्वस्था मध्ये तिष्ठन्ति राजसा जघन्यगुणवृत्तिस्था अधो गच्छन्ति तामसाः. Those who are situated in the mode of goodness gradually go upwards to the higher planets. Those in the mode of passion live on the earthly planets, and those in the abominable mode of ignorance go down to the hellish worlds. Let's read Srimad Bhagavatam. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 1. The Advent of Lord Krishna introduction. So yesterday we were reading Kamsa when he tried to kill Devaki with his sword. Vasudeva begins to pacify Kamsa. So first of all, we understood what is the position of Vasudeva is so great. Supreme Lord himself is going to appear as his son. So that is his greatness. But specifically here he is called Mahabhaga because although he is so great, his position is so great that the Supreme Lord himself is going to uh, take birth from him. Yet, when he was in such a difficult situation, it was a crisis. His wife, his newlywed wife, was about to be murdered in front of his eyes, but he was not agitated. He took care of the situation without getting agitated. And also, he was able to pacify a cruel person like Kamsa for these two reasons. Because he was able to maintain his calm even in the face of uh, such a dangerous life and death situation, and he was able to pacify Kamsa, or he tried to pacify Kamsa uh, with his words. So for this he's called Mahabhaga. Then what was the first approach? First Vasudeva said that Kamsa, you are the shining lamp of your dynasty, you are the crest jewel, you are the best king, and everyone knows this, you are so famous. Now, if you kill a woman, which is against Shastras, which is condemned in the Vedic society, if you kill a woman, what will happen to your reputation? On top of that, this woman is your sister, your younger sister, who needs to be protected by you. And if you kill her, what will happen to your reputation? And that too, you're killing her on her wedding day. No, this is not going to be good for you. Then further on, Vasudev is saying that reputation, right? Your name will be spoiled. But why you're trying to kill her? To protect this body, right? So the Akashvani said that the eighth child of this lady is going to kill you. So you don't want to die. You don't want to lose this body. That's why you are even willing to commit an abominable action which is condemned in the scriptures. Kill a woman, your sister, on a wedding day, simply because you want to protect your body. But my dear Kamsa, this body is going to go anyway. You may stop, you may kill Devaki, and you may stop death coming through her son. But that does not mean your body is going to stay with you forever. This body has to go. Jatasya hi dhruvam mrityu, dhruvam janma mritasya cha. And then you may get another question. Okay, this body is going to go, but if it goes, then it's gone forever, right? So let me preserve it for as long as I can. Okay, you're saying it will go away. If not this way, some other way it will go away. But at least I'll get to stay for some more time. Because once it's gone, then I don't have any body. I'm finished. Everything is finished with death. So let me extend this stay in my body. Because after that, I won't have any body after this body is taken away. If that's the argument, no. After this body is gone away, you'll get another body. How? Just like we saw, Dehinosmin Yatha Dehe. Right? In this life, you see that you've gone through several various phases. The body has been changing constantly. That means you've been getting new bodies one after another. You are getting one body is destroyed, but you get another body. Your childhood body is now gone, but you have some other body, right? So similarly, after death also, this body will be gone, but you'll get another body. In the purport we saw, Srila Prabhupada said, how as long as we are conditioned by material nature. Why are we conditioned by material nature? Now, when we are associating with these different modes, then certainly we'll get one body after another. There's no question about that. So you don't have to worry that, oh, I'll lose this body. If you lose this body, you'll get another body. So don't worry. Body is coming, going, you cannot stop. The body is going, you cannot stop. And similarly, you don't have to worry that, oh, this body is gone. Another body will come. So then, what should I do then? For the sake of this temporary body, don't risk your future. You do your duty. Don't commit sinful activities. Because if you do commit sinful activities, adho gacchanti tamasa. Sinful activities are in the mode of ignorance. So sinful activities means you'll go to hellish planets where you'll have to suffer so much. You're trying to avoid this suffering of death, but in order to avoid this suffering, you're doing sinful activities which will result in a lot more suffering. You'll get a body which will give you a lot more suffering, right? So don't do like that. Like that. Sorry. O great hero, 38. One who takes birth is sure to die, for death is born with the body. One may die today or after hundreds of years, but death is sure for every living entity. When the present body turns to dust and is again reduced to five elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, the proprietor of the body, the living entity, automatically receives another body of material elements. How? According to his fruitive activities. When the next body is obtained, he gives up the present body. And then we also saw how exactly this transmigration takes place, right? Just like when a person is walking, first how he's getting another body, how he's leaving the old body, and how he's getting another body. That is explained in text 39. That first your next body is ready, it's prepared, and then you give up the old body. Or in other words, you don't have to worry whether you'll get another body or not. Only after your next body is ready do you give up your old body. So you don't even have to worry about it. And the analogy for this is just like when you walk on the street, first you put your one foot firmly on the ground and then you lift the other foot. Before one foot is put on the ground, you're not going to lift the other one. Similarly, when a caterpillar is moving from one leaf to another, right? You see, caterpillar has so many small feet, right? So it moves front feet, middle feet, hind feet. So when the front feet are they first go and cling onto a leaf. That's when it releases the hind feet. It lets go of the old leaf. Until and unless the front feet are holding on to a new leaf, the hind feet will not leave. Similarly, until and unless my next body is ready, I won't leave my old body. Of course, the next body is arranged by higher authorities based on my karma. So then, yeah, just as a person traveling on the road rests one foot on the ground and then lifts the other, or as a worm on a vegetable transfers itself to one leaf and then gives up the previous one, the conditioned soul takes shelter of another body and then gives up the one he had before. So now text 41. Priyanka Haripriya Mataji, it's your turn. I'll just recite the verse. स्वप्ने यथा पश्यति देहम् ईदृशं मनोरथेनाभिनिविष्टचेतनः दृष्टश्रुताभ्यां मनसानुचिन्तयन् प्रपद्यते तत्किमपि ह्यपस्मृतिः. Yes, Mataji. Priyanka had it.
Can I see the translation, Mataji?
Yes, yes. Mataji.
Yeah. Having experienced a situation by seeing or hearing about it, one contemplates and speculates about that situation, and thus one surrenders to it, not considering his present body. Similarly, by mental adjustments, one dreams at night of living under different circumstances in different bodies and forgets his actual position. Under the same process, one gives up his present body and accepts another. Tata dehantara prapti.
Having experienced a situation by seeing or hearing about it. So how do you experience? Either by seeing or hearing about something you experience. After seeing or hearing about something, one contemplates, right? He meditates on that, he contemplates and speculates about that situation, right? So you can imagine that situation. So first you hear and then you contemplate and you speculate or imagine that situation. And thus one surrenders to it. He surrenders to that situation, not considering his present body. Similarly, by mental adjustments, one dreams at night of living under different circumstances in different bodies and forgets his actual position. Under this same process, one gives up his present body and accepts another. Tatha dehantara prapti. Srila Prabhupada's purport. So Saujanya Mataji is not here today, right? So we'll begin with Arunita and Aditi Lata Mataji. Purport.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Transmigration of the soul is very clearly explained in this verse. One sometimes forgets his present body and thinks of his childhood body, a body of the past, and of how one was playing, jumping, talking, and so on. When the material body is no longer workable, it becomes dust. For dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. But when the body again mixes with the 5 material elements, earth, water, fire, air, and ether, the mind continues to work. The mind is the subtle substance in which the body is created, as we actually experience in our dreams and also when we are awake in contemplation. One must understand that the process of mental speculation develops a new type of body that does not actually exist. If one can understand the nature of the mind, Manoratina, and its thinking, feeling, and willing, one can very easily understand how from the mind different types of bodies develop. The Krishna conscious movement, therefore, offers a process of transcendental activities wherein the mind is fully absorbed in affairs pertaining to Krishna. The presence of the soul is perceived by consciousness, and one must purify his consciousness from material to spiritual, or in other words, to Krishna consciousness. That which is spiritual is eternal, and that which is material is temporary. Without Krishna consciousness, one's consciousness is always absorbed in temporary things. For everyone, therefore, Krishna recommends in Bhagavad Gita 9.34, Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. One should always be absorbed in the thought of Krishna. One should become his devotee. One should always engage in his service and worship him as the supreme great. And one should always offer him obeisances. In the material world, one is always a servant of a greater person. And in the spiritual world, our constitutional position is to serve the Supreme, the greatest, Param Brahma. This is the instruction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jivara Sarupa Hoy Krishnara Nitya Das. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 20.108.
Yeah, Mataji can read. Not ready?
Yes, Mataji. To act in Krishna consciousness is the perfection of life and the highest perfection of yoga. As Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 6.47, Yogimnam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tattamo mataha. Of all yogis, he who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. The condition of the mind, which flickers between sankalpa and vikalpa, accepting something and rejecting it, is very important in transferring the soul to another material body at the time of death. यं वापि स्मरन् भावं त्यजन्ति अन्ते कलेवरं तं तं एवैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भावभाविता. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. Bhagavad Gita 8.6. Therefore, one must train the mind in the system of Bhakti Yoga, as did Maharaj Ambarisha, who kept himself always in Krishna consciousness. Savai mana Krishna padaravindayo. One must fix the mind at the lotus feet of Krishna 24 hours a day. If the mind is fixed upon Krishna's lotus feet, the activities of other senses will be engaged in Krishna's service. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchyate. To serve Rishikesha, the master of the senses, with purified senses, is called Bhakti. Those who constantly engage in devotional service are situated in a transcendental state, above the material modes of nature, as Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 14.26.
Inba will read Mataji.
Okay.
Inba.
Yes, Mataji. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati Yaitan Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the limits of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. One must learn the secret of success from the Vedic literatures, especially when the cream of Vedic knowledge is presented by Bhagavad Gita as this. Because the mind is ultimately controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the word apasmriti is significant. Forgetfulness of one's own identity is called apasmriti. This apasmriti can be controlled by the Supreme Lord. For the Lord says, Matasmriti jnanam apohanamsha. From me, comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Instead of allowing one to forget one's real possession, Krishna can revive one's original identity at the time of one's death. Even though the mind may be flickering, although the mind may work imperfectly, at the time of death, Krishna gives a devotee shelter at his lotus feet. Therefore, when a devotee gives up his body, the mind does not take him to another material world. Taktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti. Rather, Krishna takes the devotee to that place where he is engaged in his pastimes, mam eti. As we have already discussed in previous verses, one's consciousness, therefore, must always be absorbed in Krishna, and then one's life will be successful. Otherwise, the mind will carry the soul to another material body. The soul will be placed in the semen of a father and discharged into the womb of a mother. The semen and ovum create a particular type of body according to the form of the father and mother. And when the body is mature, the soul emerges in that body and begins a new life. This is the process of transmigration of the soul from one body to another. Tata dehantara praptihi. Unfortunately, those who are less intelligent think that when the body disappears, everything is finished. The entire world is being misled by such fools and rascals. But as stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.20, hanyate na hanyate hanyamane sharire. The soul does not die when the body is destroyed. Rather, the soul takes on another body.
Okay, thank you. Big purport. So again, Vasudeva is speaking to Kamsa, and this is about the soul's transmigration from one body to another. Okay. Having experienced a situation by seeing or hearing about it, one contemplates and speculates about that situation, and thus one surrenders to it. So this is the point. Contemplating and speculating is the function of the mind. Seeing and hearing are the functions of the senses. But thinking about it, meditating on it, contemplating, that is the function of the mind. So with the mind, so after coming in contact with some particular situation through his senses, the person meditates on that with his mind, and once he meditates upon it with his mind, he will surrender to it. So whatever he has, the image or the vritti that is formed in his mind, he surrenders to that, not considering his present body. That means here the example of the dream or dreams is given. When you are dreaming, actually you are in this body, you have this gross body, but in your mind you are somewhere else. Yes. So and then when you are there in your dream, let's say you're dreaming that you are flying in the sky, right? And in your dream you're actually seeing yourself flying. You can actually experience that you are in the sky flying. Is that where your actual body is? No, actually your present body is on your bed, and you are not even aware of your body on the bed. How did this happen? Because of the absorption of the mind. So in the entire purport in stages, Srila Prabhupada is explaining this. So first of all, Srila Prabhupada said that when the body is actually decomposed, right, it goes back to the elements, gross body. Gross body is made of what? Earth, water, fire, air, ether. When these things are, when once again the body, so like you have simple and complex atoms, right? Simple, and then by their combination you get complex molecules, and then they come together, and then you have these tissues and muscle and bone, and this body is formed, skin, etc. So then when there is decomposition, once again it breaks down and it goes back to the simple elements. What are they? Ultimately earth, water, fire, air, and ether. So when the body is decomposed into its elements, elements means the gross elements, the mind is still there. The mind is still there. Actually, our subtle body is made up of the mind, intelligence, false ego, mana, buddhi, ahankar, and chitta. This is what the subtle body is made up of. That means even though the gross body is destroyed, you burn the body, it is decomposed, it is finished, it once again it becomes elements. The mind is not destroyed like that. The mind is still there. And then based on, so this mind, based on the impressions that you have on your mind, your next body is created. So your subtle body consisting of the mind is actually preparing, or preparing means based on this mind, the next body is prepared for you and me. So what is important here? The impressions that we have on our mind, that is very, very crucial. Srila Prabhupada is saying, if you have material impressions in your mind, then your next body is going to be a material body. And if you have spiritual impressions in your mind, then your next body can be a spiritual body. The more impressions, or the stronger impressions that you have throughout your life, those are the ones that are going to come up at the time of your death. So the strongest prominent impressions that you have on your mind, that is what you're going to get at the time of death. And then those impressions will help me transmigrate, right? So the mind is actually carrying me to the next body. So now our task is to make sure that we have spiritual impressions in the mind, not material impressions. Every activity that we do is creating some samskaras or impressions in our mind. Every activity. So the activity itself doesn't need to be stopped. But the subject matter of the activity is important. Is that the subject of that activity is material or spiritual? For example, I see my children here drawing on paper. Somebody is drawing an airplane, somebody is drawing some pastime, and someone else is also drawing some pastimes. So drawing is not to be stopped. The activity doesn't have to be stopped. But while you're drawing that, what is the subject? What is the content? What is your meditation? What are the impressions that are formed on the mind? That is important. So just like drawing, it can be cooking, it can be reading. Reading is also activity. It can be so many activities. But are those activities spiritual or material? That is decided by the subject matter, the content. So therefore, the subject has to be. So Srila Prabhupada then brings us to a devotional side. Let me just, otherwise I'll lose the
No, you finish it,
flow.
Mataji. I'll tell later on.
Yeah. So then Srila Prabhupada is saying, so the whole practice has to be to this. Who is the best yogi? One who is always thinking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart. Right? He who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping, always abides in me. That means his mind is always absorbed in the Supreme Lord. Such a person is the greatest. He is the most intimately united yogi. So the whole exercise is to engage the mind, take it out from material absorption and make it absorb in spiritual topics. That's the exercise. And also, for how long are we able to do? That's another thing. Here it is said, Yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam samayukta tamamata. Always, right? Yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana. Prabhupada is saying, he who always abides in me. So that exercise, the mind at all times, continuously, like a continuous line, it is always absorbed in Krishna. Then your next destination is, because you're talking about transmigration here. So the next body that you get will be a body which is with Krishna. Where you get an opportunity. What Srila Prabhupada is saying is, you will be transmigrated, or you will be transported to a place where you can actually be thinking of Krishna all the time. If I'm fixing my mind on the lotus feet of Krishna 24 hours, see, 24 hours a day. Yes. One must fix his mind at the lotus feet of Krishna 24 hours a day. If they are able to do that, then even though the mind is flickering, the nature of mind is sankalpa vikalpa. Sankalpa means accepting that which is favorable, rejecting, or just accepting. Sankalpa means accepting, vikalpa means rejecting. It is constantly accepting and rejecting. That's the function of the mind, right? I like this, I don't like that. Like that. So it is flickering. It's not steady. It's constantly flickering, accepting and rejecting, accepting and rejecting. So it can do the same thing with Krishna also. Right now I'm thinking about Krishna and immediately I think about some cartoon or think about something else, some other mundane subject matter. So the mind is flickering. So even though the mind is flickering, if we endeavor to fix our minds on the lotus feet of Krishna, and at the time of death, I am not capable of fixing my mind on Krishna because of so many things happening to the body. Mamchayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate. That means in this life, if you do this type of avyabhichari bhakti, then Srila Prabhupada, that means one who performs devotional service and who does not fall down in any circumstance. Yeah, he does not fall down while practicing. Then he transcends the modes of material nature. So one must learn the secret of success from the Vedic literatures, that is Bhagavad Gita, especially Srimad Bhagavad Gita. You must learn the secret of success. That means how to transcend this material world, right? How to get out of this material body. What is the science? You have to learn from Bhagavad Gita. So the way is Avyabhichari Bhakti. That's the point. If you perform devotional service, and devotional service means your mind is constantly 24 hours meditating on Krishna. If you come to that state, then for sure, you will transcend this material world. And then your next body will not be a material body, it will be a spiritual body. Then one more point Srila Prabhupada is saying, ultimately the mind is controlled by the Supreme Personality of God. Now you are trying to control your mind, right? Now your exercise is you want to focus your mind on Krishna. But the mind is also one of the senses. There is 5 senses, actually 10 senses, working senses and knowledge acquiring senses. The mind is also counted as one of the senses, right? 6 senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses plus mind, totally 6. Like that it is counted. So, but all senses, the master of all senses is who? Rishikesha, right? Rishikesh is the master of the senses. So, the mind, being one of the senses, has a master. The master is Rishikesha. He is the controller of the mind. He is the controller of the mind. If I engage in devotional service, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. At least start off with Shravanam, Kirtanam and some Archanam, Pada Sevanam, offering obeisances, like that. My mind may not be initially fixed on the Supreme Lord, but still with my external senses, I am rendering devotional service. By this, the senses are engaged in the service of the master of the senses. Being pleased with this, the Lord will, because He is also the master of the mind, even though the tendency of the mind is to forget the Lord, the tendency of the mind is to go here and there, He will control the mind because He is the master of the Lord. But for Him to do that for me, I must first show Him that yes, this is what I want. How do we show Him? by performing devotional service with our other senses, external senses, right? So when we have a choice between some material sense gratification and devotional service, consciously if I choose to do devotional service, let's say making a garland, I prefer to make a garland instead of, watching a movie or something. That means consciously I'm making that choice to render devotional service to please the master of the senses. So by this, and then you have to do this like this, cultivating this, building it up 24 hours a day. Your endeavor should be not that, oh, I did once and it's finished. No, 24 hours a day I must be endeavoring to do this. Then, even though the mind may not be controlled, but because the Lord is the master, he will control. How? Mattah smritir jnanam apohanam. Remembrance. He is the one who is giving us remembrance. So by his mercy, we will be able to remember the Lord. Although the tendency of the mind is to forget, but by the Lord's mercy, we will be able to remember him like that. And the same thing happens at the time of death also. So if like this, you are practiced throughout your life to render devotional service to the Lord. Practice means you're making an endeavor to, again and again, you're endeavoring to engage in devotional service of the Lord with your external senses. And when the external senses are engaged, then the mind also starts thinking of the Lord. But even though you may not have perfected that the mind is always thinking of the Lord, but at the time of death, in spite of the minds being flickering, the Lord will control the mind and the Lord will give us the remembrance. So now, again, coming back to the original point, whatever the mind is thinking, right? Whatever are the impressions on the mind, that is our next destination. That's the next body we will get. Because throughout our life, we practice devotional service. Consciously, we are trying to do devotional service. Not that, oh, minimum. I'm asked to chant 16 rounds, so I'm done for my quota is done for today. Now let me do something else. Not like that. Rather, coming back again and again to do devotion, looking for an opportunity to do direct devotional service to Krishna throughout the day and night. Right? Avyartha kalatvam, it is said. Like not wasting even one moment of a time for anything other than direct devotional service. Consciously endeavoring like this. So like this, if we spend our whole life in devotional service, trying to be Krishna conscious, then even though the mind may not be able to remember Krishna at the time of death, because Krishna is the master of the mind also, he will give us his remembrance. The mind will be fixed on him. And when the mind is fixed on him, then what did we read in the beginning of the purport? When the gross body is finished, the mind is still active, and whatever is there on the mind, that's our next destination. And now what's happening, even though the body is given up, the external body is given up, but my consciousness is what? Krishna consciousness, isn't it? That's why sometimes, even when the other day Mataji was also saying, Aditi Lata Mataji, when someone is in coma, right? A devotee who has spent all his life rendering devotional service, but at the time of, towards the end of his life, if he is in coma, externally to us it may appear, how he'll remember Krishna now? He is in coma, he won't be able to remember. No, the impressions on the mind are there. What exactly is happening at that time, you don't know, I don't know, right? I have seen one devotee in New Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada disciple. This was several years ago. He had a neck surgery. You know, neck is very sensitive. When somebody has neck surgeries or neck pain, it's very, very sensitive. Anyway, he had a neck surgery and some mistake was done by the doctors, and then he became brain dead, as they say, right? That means no, like going into coma, basically. He's not conscious, not recognizing anyone, but they just put him on machines so that he's still living, right? His heart is pumping and all that, but all that is being done by machines. He's not able to do, his body is not able to support life on its own. So he had one son only, and the son wanted to keep the father. So for days together, it went on. And finally, they said, he can be living like this, but he'll just be like this, So you might as well just remove the machines. So devotees went there. They were doing kirtan for him for so many days. Absolutely no consciousness, nothing. He was very fond of pictures, especially pictures of deities, pictures of Prabhupada. He would make laminations of black and white pictures of the deities back in the day, and he would give them as gifts to devotees. Also, pictures of Prabhupada, he would take and he would make laminations and he would just gift them to devotees. And he was also serving in the prison ministry, sending gifts to those people who are in the prison, sending them beads to chant, books to read, preaching to the prisoners in America. And many people actually took to Krishna consciousness by his efforts. But now, towards the end of his life, this is the condition. So anyway, his son brought, or some devotees I think, brought a picture of Radha Vrindavan Chandra, which is very dear to him. Maybe it was laminated by him only. And then he was holding that picture right above the face. He was not conscious. And then they decided that day they were going to pull out the machine. And devotees were performing kirtan. And all of a sudden, he just opens his eyes, looks at Radha Vrindavan Chandra. There's a tear in his eyes, and then he gives up his body. Like this, so many, cases of devotees where externally it seems like, they cannot be conscious and, so many things like that. But if you have lived your life in devotional service with sincerity, even more potent, right? Of course, sincerity is certainly required. But by that sincerity, if you are able to attract, if you are able to please the spiritual master. Today we were reading in Srimad Bhagavatam, first chapter, first canto, that the secret of success of spiritual life is the pleasure of the spiritual master. If the spiritual master is pleased with you, your spiritual life is perfect. It is success. So he was rendering all these services for Srila Prabhupada. Then, even though at that time the mind may not be in a state to remember Krishna, but the mercy of the spiritual master, by the mercy of the spiritual master, Krishna's mercy is attracted. And by Krishna's mercy, in the mind of this person, devotee, Krishna is situated. And then he leaves his body. What will be the next body? Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tadbhava bhavita. Whatever is your consciousness at the time of death, whatever you are thinking of, smaran, remembering, whatever is there on your mind at the time of death, the moment of death, that's your next destination. So if you have Krishna on your mind at the time of giving up your body, you go to Krishna. So that is why we should do everything possible to please the spiritual master. And then how can you please the spiritual master? See, there are other paths also. You have jnana and you have yoga paths, but there I am the doer. I am doing it. I will remember the Lord. I will control my mind. I will fix my mind on the Lord. But in bhakti, I cannot do anything. All I can do is I can try to please the devotee of Krishna. Let me try to please the spiritual master. Whatever, that's why whatever service he gives, it does not matter. If he says, go clean my clothes, if he says, clean the floor, whatever service, because your goal is he should be satisfied with me. Satisfaction of the spiritual master is the key to success in spiritual life. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado. Yasya aprasadan nagati kutopi. If for some reason you displease your spiritual master, you have no destination. But if you are able to satisfy your spiritual master, Krishna will be satisfied. This is the path of bhakti. Not that I will do wonderful things and I will, by my power, I will conquer Krishna, or I will conquer my consciousness. I will become Krishna conscious by my effort. No. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that we just sit lazy, because we have to please the spiritual master. So devotees are working very hard. Their goal is to please the devotee, because the devotee has Krishna. And only the devotee can give us Krishna. So we endeavor to please the spiritual master. So in this devotee's case, he rendered so much. And how to please the spiritual master? The spiritual master is pleased because spiritual master's mission is not different from Krishna's mission. His mission is the same as Krishna's mission. When everyone takes to Krishna consciousness, then they will become happy. When everyone takes to Krishna consciousness, Krishna wants to see everyone happy. So the more this Krishna consciousness is spread, the more number of conditioned people take to Krishna consciousness by our efforts. To that extent, Krishna becomes very happy. The spiritual master becomes happy, and Krishna becomes happy. So when we become sincere in our devotional service, then the spiritual master is satisfied. And when spiritual master is satisfied, even though we may have so many things lacking, Krishna says, Yoga Kshemam Bahamyam. Even if you're lacking, I will fulfill. Like in this case, at the time of death, your mind is not even functioning. Krishna, he will come. He will come and situate himself in the mind. So the devotee can think of him, and then he can be transported to a place where he can be engaged in Krishna's service, because that was his desire in the first place. Because of circumstances, he was not able to remember Krishna at the time of death on his own. But still, during his life, he rendered devotional service in such a way, and the spiritual master was satisfied by his endeavors. That's the success of life. And really, it does not matter, for a devotee, it does not matter whether he goes back to Godhead or he's, rather, the devotee wants to stay here, really. Because what is the mission of Krishna? Krishna wants to bring all the suffering souls. He wants to see them all happy. They will only become happy when they are Krishna conscious. So if one goes back to Godhead, then what is the opportunity he has to, because devotees are paradukha dukhi, right? They are constantly working to remove the sufferings of others. You will see this in the prayers of great Vaishnavas. Prahlad Maharaj prays like that. I want to stay here in the cities, and I want to stay here until the last person, materialistic person is here. I want to send them all back to Krishna consciousness. I don't want to go, leaving them behind here. This is the mood of a Vaishnava. So they are not eager to go back to Godhead. They are not, because they are not concerned about themselves at all. And for themselves, they have no fear because they have completely taken shelter of Krishna. Krishna takes care of them. He is walking behind them with all the things that they need. They don't have to worry about anything for themselves. They're only concerned about fulfilling Krishna's mission. So they don't care. They don't care whether they go back to Godhead, rather they want to come back again and again. And they preach also like that. You should also come back. Of course, depending on how, you know, right? Sometimes those who are neophytes, then they may say, oh, just take to bhakti so you can go back to Godhead. You don't have to stay in this miserable world again. But when one becomes serious in bhakti, like that devotee, right? In the year the spiritual master said, if you want to go, you go, but you're coming back to do service, right? Maybe the devotee was going to go back to Godhead, and the spiritual master is saying, no, you have to come back to do service, whatever, either way. But the thing is, yeah, they're not concerned. But it is available to them. If you are a pure devotee, liberation is available to you. You don't even have to worry about that. Under what circumstances I am going to give up my body? Will I be able to remember Krishna or not? These are not concerns for a pure devotee. Whether I will die in an accident or will I have a natural death? Will there be devotees around me singing for me, reading Bhagavatam for me? No concerns. Their only concern is push the mission of the Lord. They don't think about themselves. Like His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj left last week.
Mataji, can you share the screen one time? I just want to read one line in the last portion because I had
Yes.
some doubt. Although the mind may work imperfectly, therefore, when a devotee gives up his body, the mind does not take him to another material body. Krishna takes the devotee to that place where he is engaged in his pastime. For a devotee, so how the material body works, next body works, is whenever whatever karma we are doing, our body is getting created. Next body is getting created, right, Mataji? And that's
For a devotee,
that.
you're saying, or for
No,
everyone in general?
for everyone,
Yes,
for
yes,
everyone.
yes.
So therefore, that's what we discussed, that if the person is dying untimely, then the body is not yet fully created. Therefore, he has to wait for his body to be completed, right?
Mhm.
So in in this situation, so for a devotee, he's what I heard earlier is their material body is getting material body is getting burned, is getting exhausted, and their spiritual body is there. Obviously everyone has their own spiritual body always existing, but his subtle body and material body is getting dissolved.
Uh,
So
a little bit of correction there, but you go ahead.
yes, so that's where my confusion is. So for a devotee, for a pure devotee, his material body, he's not creating a material body, and his subtle body is getting burnt up by pure devotional service, right? Therefore he doesn't have any material body anymore where he will go back to after this birth. right? Because his material body and subtle body is getting burnt.
Yeah, see, even when the eternal associates come, they don't come in material bodies. Like when Arjun comes, it's not that he has a material body. Material body means what? Material body means avidya, ignorance. Those who are eternal associates of the Lord, they don't have any ignorance. Still, they come to this world. So, does that mean that they're coming in a material body made of ignorance? No, they don't come in a material body made of ignorance. They come in a particular body, but their bodies are not made of ignorance and out of material elements. They come for the pastimes here. So, now what happens to a pure devotee after his material body is burnt up? That doesn't mean that material body is burnt up means now he see spiritual world means you are in spiritual world. For a devotee, pure devotee, there is no material world. Even when he is here, he is only in the spiritual world all the time because he sees everything in connection with Krishna and he's engaged, so he can come back again and again. There's no problem. That's what I'm trying to say. Even if his material body is completely dissolved, still he can come back for service of Krishna. There's no problem with that. Only this time he is not coming out of karma. For us, we have to accept another body because of karma, but a pure devotee, not because of karma, he can come to render service for the Lord, to preach the message of the Lord. And similarly, after perfecting your bhakti in this life, you may decide, I don't want to go back to Godhead, I want to go to another material planet and I want to preach there. I want to assist my Guru Maharaj in his preaching mission. I don't want to go back. That's also possible. But because he's taking birth in the material world, it doesn't mean he has a material body. You got the point?
Yes, yes. I'm mostly asking about the subtle body. The subtle body, that's what I heard, that the subtle body gets dissolved.
Yes.
Material body is the just a
Subtle body is also material. Subtle body is also material. So material body you have two, gross and subtle. Both will be dissolved.
So it gets dissolved. So I'm not saying for those eternal what is it called, eternal devotees, the
Associates.
Nitya
No, but
Siddha. I'm
even
not
when
saying
you
about the Nitya Siddha devotees. I'm saying about the normal people who are doing pure devotional service. So, what I heard earlier is that their subtle body gets the more spiritual 24 hours they're doing spiritual activity, their subtle body is getting dissolved. Therefore, because that subtle body is the main reason why they are entangled in this material world. That's why we are always getting a covering that is a material body on top of the subtle body, and we are taking birth again and again. But when we are doing pure devotional service, our subtle body gets dissolved. Therefore, then we do not have to be back here. So we are getting our eternal body and then going back to Godhead, or
not exactly like that, I'll just explain it to you. What is happening is the material aspect is being dissolved completely. It doesn't mean that in the spiritual world you don't have you don't have mind intelligence in spiritual world or what you have,
no,
but they are
we have
not
a
made of material
spiritual body.
components. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
we have a
spiritual.
spiritual body.
Yes, so that spiritual body anyway. So you are saying by performing bhakti, both gross, subtle, both bodies are dissolved, not just subtle body is dissolved. Both are dissolved. In
Material
fact,
anyway is getting material is anyway going to be burned, but the spiritual is the one which we are not seeing. We are when we are going spiritual, I'm saying the subtle body, because with the subtle body we are transmigrating to another body, right? With
no,
the subtle
no,
body.
subtle body is also material. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yes, material only. What I'm
Hmm.
saying, we all have our spiritual body, right? In the spiritual abode, when we go to spiritual abode, we go with our spiritual body. But the subtle body here in the material world, we have a subtle
Not that
body,
we all
normal.
have spiritual body, not like that. Just like the material body grows on the spirit soul, spiritual body also grows on the spirit soul. So material body is made of the external energy, Spiritual body is made of the internal energy. Spirit soul is marginal energy, tatastha, it's in middle. So the spirit soul can get either a material body made of external energy, or he can get a spiritual body made of internal energy, depending on his consciousness, where he wants, right? Whatever his consciousness is. So after his material body is dissolved, then his spiritual body will start developing even while he is here. His spiritual body will start developing. And then when it is fully developed, then with that body he is in the spiritual world. But spiritual world is it's another dimension. It's not that while you're in this world also your spiritual body and you are in the spiritual world. You can be in the spiritual world while you are in this world. We have examples of our Goswamis, like they are participating in the Lord's Leela and they are here. They are there also, they are here also. Right? They go there and they come back. Like that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes you will see. Oh, I was there with Krishna and then why did you wake me up? Why did you, bring me back here? Like that. That means even though those pure devotees who are in this world, they will also be in their spiritual bodies because now they have spiritual bodies, so they can also be in the spiritual world. So anyway,
Like
your
Dhruva
question
Maharaj.
coming. Huh?
Like Dhruva Maharaj, he went with his own body because that
Right.
became spiritual body.
Yeah.
Correct. Yes, so that's what I was having confusion, that I was under the impression that we are all having our spiritual body, but because of our material entanglement, we are covered with the subtle body and then the material cross body which we have. But we probably, you are obviously we are right that we are either building a material body or we are building a spiritual body. So depending on what we are practicing,
Doing.
how
Yeah.
yeah we are doing devotional service, that way either or bodies are getting created.
Mm.
Correct.
Yeah. Correct. Of course, that building of spiritual body that happens when we begin pure devotional service. Right now, we still have material bodies, both subtle and gross. Prarabdha. Prarabdha means this body is the result of prarabdha. That means this is the result of our karma. We got these bodies, material bodies. And then we are also trying to practice devotional service. And by devotional service, what happens is your karma is also getting burnt. Karma is also getting burnt. Once you enter into pure devotional service, you cross anartha nivritti stage, then, right? So when you come to bhava, that's the budding stage of your spiritual body. So spiritual body development happens only in pure devotional service in the bhava stage. That's when, or the end of asakti stage or the beginning of bhava stage, that's when the spiritual body starts developing. So in our case, we have material bodies only now, but we're talking about pure devotees who are in advanced stages of bhakti. Yeah, they have uh, they have developed their spiritual bodies. They have begun also because bhava is like the budding stage, and then prema is like a fully grown youth body like that.
That's why their body is not burned, they're cremated, the Goswamis and all, because they have spiritual body, those are spiritual.
There's no material element there anymore. It is completely, but at the same time, it's not, we may not imagine that that is the body in which they are performing pastimes with Krishna. So the material aspect, material element is completely removed from those bodies. In, of course, again, Goswamis means they are eternal associates. So there's no material element from the beginning. It's not like the material elements got burnt. But for sadhana, bhaktas, those sadhakas, those who do, sadhana bhakti, then by sadhana, their material bodies are getting dissolved completely, and then they get a spiritual body. Spiritual body means their bodies are now There's no more material aspects in them. It's just spiritual. Uh, so then, what is the point in burning or anything like that?
But we hear that when uh, the spiritual body is exactly like two hands, or like, like Vaikuntavasis.
Yeah,
So how do we, of course, it is very difficult for us to fully analyze and understand with our impure senses, that I
right.
understand.
Yeah, yeah.
We cannot
So
understand
that's the
that
thing. As
totally.
far as, because the thing is, when things are explained in scripture and by the acharya, they have to make a, you know, on one hand, we have the dull mind and dull brains, and we have this, um, you know, um, challenging mentality that until and unless you show me, I cannot accept it. That type of mentality we have here. And on the other side, Krishna is achintya. You cannot conceive him with your material senses. And the task of the acharya, of the Vaishnava, is to somehow or other convince you, because the only way you can understand Krishna is when you begin to do devotional service. So the task of the Vaishnava is to somehow or other convince you to begin devotional service. But many times you won't even begin devotional service until and unless you get some conviction, right? So what, how to give you that conviction? He will give some examples, material examples, because that's all we can understand, just to make you start devotional service. And once you start rendering devotional service, then things will start getting revealed in proportion to our devotional service. The more sincerely we render devotional service, more and more things become revealed to us. But even when they're revealed to us, you may not be able to explain them to another person who is neophyte. You can try to explain, but it doesn't mean that that person will understand, will see what you are seeing. Because really, what you're seeing is because of the devotional service that you're rendering, and by the dint of that devotional service, whatever is being revealed to you, by that only you can understand spiritual subjects. Intellectually, some examples may be given, but the whole idea of the logic that is given is to induce you to start devotional service. That's all. Not really to convince you about the spiritual world and about Krishna, because it cannot, you cannot understand everything about the spiritual world with these minds. So the best, certainly, if we have questions, we must ask questions. But when we come to a point where I'm not getting the answer what I'm looking for, like I'm not getting a clear picture of what, like black and white picture, then we just accept the statements as given in the scripture and increase our, that's the key, increase our devotional service, chanting, hearing, reading, praying to Krishna to reveal things, and things by his mercy may get revealed to us by his mercy at some point. Yeah.
Yes, Mataji, thank you so much. I actually wanted to talk about Gopal Krishna Maharaj. The example, the first portion where you were reading about the pure devotee's service. He is continuously. I forgot when I told you that, when I raised my hand. So I was trying to say that Gopal Krishna Maharaj is like that. So when he started, coming to the temple, and he started doing service for Prabhupada,
Mm.
and then when he met Prabhupada, he said that, okay, can I join ISKCON full time and leave my job? Prabhupada said, no, 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 don't do that. You keep on working, and you can give your money to Krishna. and do whatever service you can. So he was, of course, he did his masters and he was in a very big company and in the advertising. Continued working, and then he went to temple, and his one of the devotee was explaining his shoe was always dented at the back, like when he just quickly put on the shoes, you
Mm.
know I don't even put the shoes properly, because
Acha, acha. Yeah, yeah,
he was always in and out,
yeah.
doing devotional service, doing this that everything. So then Prabhupada called him that, Gopal, you come here, I need you to take care of GBC. So then he started helping in the GBC, and then things became more intense for him, more work. So he couldn't continue working because his time was so much absorbed here. So then he left his job and he joined ISKCON full time, and Prabhupada gave his most dear project to him, the book distribution and book printing, as we all know how he loved it. So then full time he devoted, even when he was working. Even now, one of the devotee was saying that he was fully working, fully absorbed in working. It's not that I'm only doing, worshipping of the deity. Although he was doing Mangal Arti, he was doing his deities worshipping, all those things. But when he was working for Krishna, he was devoted to that. And like one of the pastime was the his servant. He had the habit of always saying Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, when he was sitting in the car and going with Guru Maharaj and all. So he used to say, "Oh, please don't disturb me. You are creating a disturbance." Guru Maharaj was saying, "Because I'm on the call." But because when he is talking to someone, another devotee or someone or something for GBC, he was devoted there. He doesn't want to be distracted also. But for what he was doing it for Krishna. It's not like material, I'm working outside and that's why I'm stopping Krishna. His consciousness was so much absorbed in Krishna's service that at the end we see that when, I already told you about Loknath Maharaj, when he was there, when he was leaving his body in Dehradun. Loknath Maharaj was there. He was unconscious. Guru Maharaj, not unconscious, but um, he couldn't speak, and he was lying with closed eyes. He's
Yeah, you
almost.
didn't tell me about this. Go ahead.
He was almost leaving his body at that time, and then Loknath Maharaj said that. The doctors were not allowing him because only few people can be in because the last stage. But Lokmanath Maharaj fought with the doctors and said, no, I have to be there. And then he said, Hare Krishna, loudly. And Gopal Krishna Maharaj opened his mouth, and his tongue was moving as if, because his
Uh,
other parts are not working. So his tongue was moving as if he's saying Hare Krishna. And then
yes,
he
yes,
left.
yes. I remember you said that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So, like this pure devotee, as we were discussing, this, reminded me, because he was 24 hours. It's not about that, okay, 24 hours I'm chanting. It's not about that. That's where we sometimes make mistake. It's about whatever work I'm doing it for Krishna. That's the consciousness, like, because Gopal Krishna Maharaj is a perfect example in this, because he was head of GBC and he had so many other activities, outside activities, doing fundraising. The devotees were explaining his fundraising, amazing thing about fundraising. And not only fundraising, when he spoke to other devotees, um, you were not there, Mataji, but people who were the devotees who were there with Rukmini Mataji's class. Rukmini Mataji was explaining at that time that compassion of the devotee. So she was saying it's not about always, do chanting. It's not like that. When you meet someone, you understand what sorrow that person is having, what problem that person is having. Talk to that person. Maybe they need a shoulder to cry on. When someone is coming to the temple, you be compassionate, you talk to the person who is sitting all aloof and being so sad. So because maybe that compassion is required in that, for that person. So that's what Guru Maharaj used to do whenever he used to meet anyone. I was listening to other devotees as well as with our case also. You expect when you meet a Guru Maharaj, what will he say? He will say, "Oh, you're doing devotional service, this, do more chanting, this." But no, what he was talking, whenever he met someone, he used to say, "How are you? Is everything okay?" Even if the guest was staying there, "Is your AC working in your room?" He was,
Yeah.
like, he was so compassionate. He was just making sure that everyone is taken care of. Then he one devotee was saying from Tirupati. He was a ISKCON, I think ISKCON Tirupati or something head. So he was saying when he came, Guru Maharaj was saying, "Oh, how is your family? How is your daughter?" Then he said, "Is good." He said that he got married. "Oh, married already?" He was expecting. Please let me talk to her. Please get her phone. And
Your voice is breaking,
the
Mataji. Can't hear.
devotee-
Your voice is breaking.
so when he now,
Still breaking.
you know,
Can't hear.
okay, okay, I'm trying to connect to another.
Yeah. Yes, Mataji.
My internet. Can you hear
Ah,
me now?
yes.
Okay, so I was saying this Tirupati person, he's when Gopal Krishna Maharaj understood that she is pregnant, he wanted to talk to her, and he was saying, "Oh, you have to eat this, and for the healthy baby, and do all your devotional service also," because he was compassionate, and he was in our level. You know what I mean? He was compassionate, taking care of a devotee. It's
Yeah.
not that you always just force a book to someone, or you always just, because even in the fundraising he was saying, we think that Gopal Krishna Maharaj is telling that give money, give money, give money. No, he doesn't. Even Priyanka Haripriya Mataji knows. When last time we were in Baltimore, he didn't say that, "Oh, give money, give money, give money, give money." His other devotees were saying yes. What he does, his presence itself makes people give money. you know so there was, in Delhi, he was saying, big industrialist he met, and he specifically asked his devotees, "Do not ask money, do not ask for any donation or anything, just give prasadam." So they kept on giving prasadam. He just talked to them, "How are you? How is everything?" And then they kept on giving prasadam, and they started sending checks to him. This is this is how he was. So that's the compassion, how we also have to approach. We should do big distribution,
But we
yes,
have to
but
keep.
we have to keep in mind that we have to be compassionate, and that also keeping in mind that we are doing this service for Krishna, because this is Krishna's devotee. That compassion is also for Krishna. And
Yeah.
you understand what I'm
Yes,
saying?
yes, Mataji. Yes. Thank you.
Yes, that's what Rukmini Mataji was saying the other day. So I was connecting. I heard that lecture, and next day I was flying to Gopal Krishna Maharaj, and I was seeing this, all this. I was hearing this, and then I was connecting. Oh my God, this is what she was trying to say, the compassion. because Rukmini Mataji did not even touch anything else, any other point. She was just talking about compassion. But this is what compassion. And if we understand, if we realize, if I can realize with my life, if I did not get that compassion, if someone just told me, oh, do this, I would have been totally lost. I just needed some shoulder to, cry on, or to discuss, or to, even when I was having this tough time, when emotionally tough time, when you heard my side of the story, that just helped me trying to, settle down. You need that compassion from the devotees, and that is also devotional service, because you are helping that way to a devotee, to settle down, because then they can do Krishna, other Krishna consciousness.
Right. Yes.
Sorry for going off topic. Thank you.
No, 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 not. There's one thing though there. Uh, Sometimes, so this has to be done with maturity though. Certainly, feeling compassion, that's very, very important. And on any level, when you show compassion, it actually is, you're able to touch the other person, no doubt about that. But while doing that, we have to be very careful uh, to, because really we are not the helpers, we are not the ones who are giving. We can only become instruments of Krishna's mercy coming through the Guru Parampara. We cannot really show compassion or help anyone on any level, actually. That's actually pride to think that I am going to help someone and I am going to show compassion to someone. And how can we access this compassion of Krishna coming through the Guru Parampara? We can access it by our sincere devotional service, by our sincere chanting of Hare Krishna, by our dedication to Krishna consciousness. By that, we will be able to, we will get access to become instruments of Krishna's grace, instruments of Guru Parampara's grace. So it's very important to understand this, but at the same time, uh, there's no separate way of showing compassion. Compassion comes through devotional service. I understand the point that was being made. When you are forcing someone else, right? You chant and you do this, you have to see the effect it is having on the other person. Simply by my saying, is it actually helping that person? Or as you quoted Maharaj, or by showing compassion, by being friendly to them, is that giving the desired effect of their taking to Krishna consciousness? Ultimately, the goal is we want them to take to Krishna consciousness and become happy. But what is the best way for them to take to Krishna consciousness? So that will take maturity in Krishna consciousness to realize that. Immaturely, if we simply think that I will sit and talk to this person for 1 hour or 2 hours and hear this person's story and all that, and that by that I'm going to help, and if I neglect my own sadhana in trying to do that, thinking that this is also bhakti, that is also bhakti, and if I am neglecting my sadhana, at least chanting those 16 rounds attentively, soon we will find ourselves that our relationship, even amongst devotees, it will come to mundane platform. So it's a very, very, you have to maintain that balance. You have to hold on to, it's like, you're in the middle. You have to hold on to the superiors. The connection is through the method that has been given to us, uh, especially the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and all the other, you know, things that have been given to us. Practicing that sincerely, That's our connection to the superiors. That means our Guru and Parampara, Krishna, holding on to that. And then we want to become instruments of their mercy. We want to help the conditioned souls in this world. Help means we will become instruments, connecting ourselves to that chain. Now, when whoever we speak to, we listen to them, then we become. But if we leave this connection and if we think that let me become compassionate, I'm going to help them, when the connection to the powerhouse is lost, there won't be any electricity flowing. So we have to be careful about that. Both have to
Yes,
be there.
Mataji. Yes, Mataji. I was saying that giving association, not taking association, because that's another aspect. I was thinking of asking Rukmini Mataji also, because sometimes the situation comes when we are too much involved in that, because we are in the neophyte level, we forget that we are giving association, and we start,
Taking.
thinking in that line. So that becomes a very dangerous thing. So we have
Yeah.
to just keep on chanting, holding on to our bhakti, as you are saying, and just try to help and just to be compassionate about other person's position.
Right.
Like, for example, I'm not a devotee or I'm not anything. I'm just saying, because this also Krishna arranged for, Guru Maharaj actually arranged for this. When I was in the hotel, there was a home cleaning, that room service
Mm.
person. So one young boy, he was cleaning the room. He came and he started cleaning the room, 22 years old, and he's from Bihar. So I started talking to him and, say that, how are you, and, how do you like your job here and all. So he started saying his mind that, oh, I once applied for Singapore, and they were asking a lot of money. And then I said that, don't try to jump so high. Don't give money to think that, oh, abroad is only good, because here you have Krishna conscious, all this Krishna temple and all. He goes to temples and all. So I was telling him, like, have you been to East Kailash temple, which is very good, that way you can, and read Bhagavad Gita. Have you read anytime? So he said no. I said that, okay, fine, I will give you one Bhagavad Gita, and would you read it? He said, yes, definitely, if you can give me, and I will definitely go to the temple. Then, I started hearing about, what his problem was, then started explaining that, why it is not good to go abroad and rather stay here, because now you can go to, he goes to Vrindavan also. So because you are so near to Vrindavan, you can go to Vrindavan, you're staying with your family. Not everything is rosy abroad that you're thinking. And then when I went to temple, I bought two Bhagavad Gita, one for him and another the driver who was riding, giving me rides. So bought that and gave it to him. I said that, religious book, you have to give me something. He actually gave, it was, the cost was 230 rupees, and he gave $200 to me. So then I said that, you have to read this. This is what you do. I give my number also. If you want to connect with me, I can, help you. And he was so, like, so ready for it. And that's why probably, Guru Maharaj or Krishna, gave that person and connected the Bhagavad Gita to him. That's what was missing in his life, because he was just sad, because he's helping so many foreigners, and he had that dream. And so that's where I explained. When I explained, then he was almost like crying, and he was saying, oh, I never met any guest like this who would explain so much to me. And I said, no, it's not me. Just go to temple, there will be so many nice devotees, and listen to the lecture and read Bhagavad Gita. So this is what Rukmini Mataji was probably saying. Then I was thinking that just listen to them and understand where their sorrow is coming from, and then you guide them that way. But not me, of course. I'm not doing, because I really do not have any intelligence. I'm not a psychiatrist or anything. But definitely Krishna, he is speaking through me or giving that book to him.
Jai,
Yes.
wonderful. So
Uh,
nice. Very nice. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing that.
Thank you. Sorry, I shouldn't say all these things, but I couldn't stop myself.
No, it's good because you're inspiring in Krishna consciousness. That's good. So we will end here. One complaint that some devotees have is I don't end the class on time, and I completely accept that fault in me. I think every day. Today also I said, okay, I will end at 5:30, and again it's half an hour overtime. I mean, all of you are being patient and you're just bearing with me, but I will try to do that. I think it's nice to end on time so you know you can plan other things after that, right? Uh, I mean, I have to work on that myself also, but I will try to do that. Okay, I will make an effort to.
Today is Sunday, Mataji. Today is grace time. That's fine.
I do it every day.
Yes, Mataji, one glorification which I want to say, which I really appreciate, and I realized that yesterday also I was thinking about it. When you cover one topic, you cover, I was telling everyone in my family too, you cover every angle of that, which is so nice. It becomes so much nectar because we can just go by whatever is written and just one angle and then finish it off. Although Prabhupada also gives different angles of different acharyas, but even if it is not there, it is so nice that when we discuss all these angles and everything is covered, so that way any sloka when we read, we recollect all those points. That gives us more clarity, more understanding, and more nectarian. That's what I liked in our Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhav. And that's why when you do that, I really appreciate that. Thank you, Mataji, for that. I know it takes longer, but it gives so much clarity to every sloka we read. Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you. So we will end here. I have another class in 2 minutes, so I have to end now. Thank you all so much. We are not doing Bhagavad Gita and Leelamrita today. I'll see you tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare
Jai.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.